Chapter 4. The Garbage Dump from the book The Sixth Extinction by Marko Vovk. Book details below. This is an AI sample video of the book chapter.
As the ship glided lower, Enlil's voice rang out. Belay and Ninsen, our mother-daughter team, are prepped for the archaeological dig at the garbage dump. They've been gearing up for this moment.
Ninsen's eyes sparkled, anticipation buzzing in her voice. Garbage dumps are like time capsules. They reveal so much about how humans lived, their habits, their secrets, their downfalls.
Belay nodded, her concern for Earth's wounds clear. Yes, and every artifact tells a story about their culture and why their world declined. It's a chance to learn, and maybe to warn others.
Astra's voice cut in, crisp and alert. Entering restricted Earth airspace. Area 51 detected. Top secret government base. Scanning for hazards. Rumors persist of crashed alien craft and underground tunnels.
Ninsen, eyes glued to the screens, gasped. You mean like the Roswell incident in 1947? They claimed a UFO crashed in Roswell, New Mexico.
Belay nodded, recalling the legends. That event kicked off a wave of alien fever. Flying saucers, abductions, strange experiments. Some claimed women were impregnated by aliens, like the famous Betty and Barney Hill case in 1961, and later stories like Linda Napolitano's alleged abduction in 1989. There were reports of medical examinations, missing time, and, in some cases, women claiming mysterious pregnancies after encounters with so-called Greys.
Nurgle, ever the skeptic, didn't flinch. The Greys are a myth, no real evidence, but they're everywhere in human lore. Short, thin, large heads, huge black eyes. They became the poster children for alien conspiracy theories.
Enlil added, not just Roswell. There were claims of sightings at places like Rendlesham Forest in England, 1980, the Phoenix Lights in Arizona, 1997, and the Travis Walton abduction in 1975. Rumor has it, he continued, that humans reverse-engineered alien technology at Area 51, and that some aliens even live underground there. There are other secret sites too, like Area 52 in Nevada and Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, both rumored to house alien tech and beings.
As the ship soared past the abandoned Area 51, silent unless the legends of hidden aliens were true, the crew's focus shifted to the landfill below.
Subsurface radar probes, particle identifiers, shielded field computers, sun hats, and energy water. Everything's good to go.
This will map underground structures and spot buried treasures.
It better work. I calibrated every tool on the way here, no mistakes.
The ramp lowered, and the Texas sun blazed down as the crew stepped out, ready to unearth the secrets buried beneath the desert's surface, remnants of a civilization that dreamed of the stars.
Expect a mix of road debris, decaying electronics, rusted car parts, rotted food, toys, clothes, furniture, tires, and of course, mountains of plastic. Man's garbage includes everything, even the kitchen sink. It's a record of their consumption and technological progress.
It's amazing how much they threw away. I've never seen anything like it.
It's not just the quantity, it's the variety. From food packaging to electronics, it's a treasure trove of information about human life.
The Anunnaki explorers stepped onto Earth's soil, ready for their archaeological mission.
We'll leave you down here for a few days. Keep your wristbands on and call if you need support. We can be here in a flash.
As the ship lifted off, Belay gestured at the endless expanse.
This landfill, Apex Regional, is one of the world's largest. Mountains of waste stretch to the horizon. It covers over 2,200 acres and holds more than 50 million tons of trash. Enough to bury a city block under 100 feet of garbage.
Belay and Ninsen exchanged glances, the enormity of their task sinking in, then activated their equipment, ready to uncover humanity's forgotten wants. Their subsurface radar pinged with an odd finding. Millions of small plastic bags scattered everywhere. Grocery plastic bags. They take thousands of years to decompose.
It's unbelievable! They knew these bags wouldn't break down for millennia, yet they still used them.
It shows how little they considered the long-term impact of their actions.
By the late 20th century, these bags were everywhere. Supermarkets handed them out by the billions. People would leave with 3 or 20 at a time, depending on how much they bought.
And then they'd save or reuse them as garbage bags. That's why billions ended up in dumps like this.
As they dug deeper, the radar flagged organic matter, high in nitrogen and phosphorus, inside the bags.
Affirmative. Most of these bags contain canine waste.
In 2025, the U.S. had about 320 million people, 90 million dogs, and 80 million cats living indoors. That's not counting strays or wild animals.
3 pets per child? They treated animals like family.
With 900 million dogs worldwide in 2025, and each producing about 0.75 pounds of poop daily, that's 900 million x 0.75 equal 675 million pounds of dog poop per day.
675 million pounds of dog poop every day. A single dog produces about 1,808 pounds of CO2 per year from its food, and over 14 years, that's about 25,309 pounds. With 900 million dogs worldwide, their annual emissions reach 1.63 trillion pounds, less than cows or cars, but still over 10% of all car emissions.
Pets lived 10-20 years. They gave comfort and helped with disabilities. People took them everywhere, on trips, vacations, you name it.
The crew's findings painted a vivid picture of human life, encompassing both love and companionship, as well as waste and neglect.
In 1950, most pets lived outside as guards or for pest control. Now it's like they replaced children with pets.
Ninsun shook her head, amazed at the contradictions buried in Earth's trash.
Dogs never surpassed a 2-year-old's mental capacity. Humans were babysitting a 2-year-old for over 10 years.
They would take them out of the house 3 times per day, sometimes more, so they could relieve themselves.
So they would pee on the trees in front of homes. No wonder the bottoms of these tree stumps were dead or deteriorated. From constantly being peed on, one tree could be peed on 50 times a day, depending on how many people walked their dogs at that location. This would weaken the trees, and then the termites and carpenter ants would move in and further the damage. Then a windstorm would come, and trees would fall. All because of dog pee.
The crew couldn't help but chuckle at the absurdity of it all, tiny Anunnaki giggles echoing through the ship.
They would carry this bag back home. That's how these ended up in dumps. What was wrong with these people? They poisoned their planet for pets.
It's not just about the animals. It's about their values on convenience and companionship. They often prioritize short-term comfort over long-term sustainability.
Yes, and that's what we need to understand. The intricate web of decisions that led to this desolate world.
We lived thousands of years without pets. Why spend so much time on animals? We only ever had working beasts, not companions lounging indoors.
We created humans to work, not to keep animals for amusement.
Pets spread diseases. Animal hair and saliva fill homes with dust mites and parasites. 30% of humans had asthma. In the US, that's about 26.8 million people, and worldwide, 240 million in 2025. Asthma caused 3,500 deaths per year in the US and 400,000 worldwide.
Parasites like Toxoplasma gondii from cat feces can affect human brains. It lowered IQ in males, increased promiscuity in females, and slowed reaction times, resulting in an increased number of accidents. Some women with these brain parasites would have conflicts with their spouses and end up separating.
In 2025, the US had 80 million pet cats, up from 3.5 million in 1950. Globally, there were 600 million cats. About 11% of Americans, over 36 million, had Toxoplasma infection, and worldwide, 2.4 billion people.
We never get divorced. Our only separation is by death.
On Earth, they'd find another spouse like a pair of shoes. In 1950, the divorce rate in the United States was 11%. By 2025, the percentage had exceeded 50%. Globally, it reached 30%.
Their relationships were fleeting. Love became a commodity.
Their society ran on convenience and instant gratification. No wonder relationships suffered.
They invested so much in pets, treating them like family.
Most animals were pets, but some dogs served as helpers for people with disabilities, guiding the blind, or providing emotional support. Others worked in war, police, or rescue.
As Belay and Ninsun dug through the landfill, they found a plastic remote.
These remotes used batteries with toxic metals like mercury and cadmium, common in TVs.
Televisions were for entertainment. People spent 4 hours a day watching, over 1,400 hours a year.
They had hundreds of channels and TVs in every room.
The subsurface radar pinged, TVs and remotes layer after layer buried in the 300-foot deep dump.
Fake reality shows like Naked in the Jungle? Really?
You haven't seen anything until you've watched Honey Boo Boo, Wife Swap, The Real Housewives, or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And get this, there was dog TV and cat TV.
I'm not making this up.
Focus on the mission.
The pair trudged deeper into the dump, sweat beating under their suits as the 120 degrees Fahrenheit sun blazed above.
They packaged food in chemical-coated containers. Hydrocarbon wax would leach into their food and mess with hormones. This one's Fruit Loops, yellow corn flour, wheat flour, sugar, salt, iron, zinc, and a rainbow of dyes. Red 40, blue 1, turmeric, annatto, and more.
They ate this stuff?
Regularly. It's wild what counted as food.
Their diets were loaded with processed foods and artificial additives.
Some dyes were poisonous. Red dye 3, for example, was everywhere. Candy, drinks, medicine, before it was banned for causing cancer in lab animals.
It colored everything from conversation hearts to jelly beans. Maraschino cherries, frostings, and plant-based bacon strips are used in it.
Yellow dye num 5 was linked to hyperactivity in kids. Blue 1 triggered allergic reactions. Orange dye no. 1 was banned due to its cancer risk.
Red dyed pistachios.
They dyed pistachios red to hide stains from old harvesting methods. It was all about making them look good, not about safety.
But red dye num 3 had real health risks, disrupting thyroid hormones and causing tumors.
It's also linked to neuroinflammation and oxidative stress in animal studies. Long-term exposure could mean thyroid problems, neurodegenerative diseases, even cancer.
All that for brighter candy and prettier snacks.
Enlil and Damkina, get your gear ready for the graveyard dig drop-off.
The team pressed on, marveling at a civilization that loved color and spectacle, sometimes at the cost of its health.
Clamshell containers, plastic bags, and fiberboard boxes.
These were the go-to packaging for produce. Clamshells for strawberries, plastic bags for greens.
Just think how many trees they cut for all this. Boxes, furniture, homes, it's staggering. Each year, the US alone cuts down approximately 36 million trees for boxes and paper. Globally, it was over 200 million trees, 80 billion board feet, and 4 million acres every year.
Humans started farming trees after realizing they'd destroyed ancient forests and rainforests.
The appetite for wood was endless. Construction, paper, packaging.
The particle counter beeped. Pesticide-sprayed, genetically modified produce detected.
Glyphosate, chlorpyrifos, organophosphates, all linked to cancer and neurological damage.
They ate this every day, no wonder their lifespans were short.
Genetically modified organisms have been around since the 1990s. By the 2000s, GMOs like corn and soybeans were everywhere.
But why use GMOs?
To boost yields and cut pesticide use, but many GMO crops became dependent on herbicides.
Companies like Monsanto, later Bayer and Syngenta dominated the GMO seed market.
Many heirloom seeds are now stored under the ice in Greenland.
Heirloom seeds are old plant varieties, saved for their unique traits.
That's great, so we can grab those seeds when we need them.
We need to get them before the next polar ice melt.
The next pole shift could wipe out those seeds if we're not careful.
We must retrieve those seeds. They're the key to future biodiversity.
Pesticides were everywhere, used to fight pests and disease.
It's astonishing how much they relied on chemicals. No wonder their health collapsed.
Studies show 90% of the global population has pesticide residues in their bodies.
The subsurface interface radar beeped, revealing millions of small plastic bottles buried below. Ninsen dug one out, holding it up in disbelief.
They put water in these?
Those bottles contained bisphenol A or BPA, an endocrine disruptor that leached into the water. BPA is linked to reproductive problems and cancer.
Europeans started bottling water in the 17th century because their water tasted bad or was contaminated. The practice spread as people searched for cleaner water.
Plastic bottles took off in the 1950s, thanks to new materials like HDPE and PT. Companies like Nestle, Coca-Cola, and Pepsi produce billions of bottles every year, making plastic pollution a global problem.
It's amazing how fast plastic bottles became a fad. Soon they were everywhere. Mountains, oceans, roadsides. The convenience was appealing, but the environmental and health costs were huge. Chemicals like BPA and phthalates from these bottles polluted the planet and harmed people.
In 2025, the world produced over 500 billion soft drink cans, with Coca-Cola and Pepsi leading the way.
Why did they drink so many?
They loved the sugar, caffeine, and taste. Most people who drank these and other sugary drinks were addicted. They thought they needed them.
Energy drinks were also popular. They had high caffeine and sugar, giving a quick boost but leading to dependence, what humans called addiction.
What do you mean addicted?
Addiction means they felt they couldn't stop. Sugar and caffeine are addictive stimulants. Sugar comes from cane and beets, while caffeine is found in coffee, tea, and cacao. Both trigger the brain's reward centers, releasing dopamine and creating euphoria.
It's like a drug. They couldn't stop because their bodies craved the rush.
Addiction wasn't just about drugs. People were hooked on food, sugar, caffeine, pain meds, TV, even sports and religion. More than half the world was addicted to something.
Sugar was Earth's biggest drug. It caused millions of deaths, both and...
Too much sugar led to obesity, which brought a storm of health problems. Weight gain, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and heart disease.
Obesity made people sick and led to early deaths. It was the strongest risk factor for diabetes.
Eating too much sugar made people gain weight and body fat, which raised their risk for diabetes. By 2025, 75% of U.S. adults, about 250 million people, were overweight or obese. And worldwide, more than 2.3 billion people faced the same problem. This epidemic strained health systems, shortened lives, and shrank populations everywhere. In the U.S. alone, over 34 million people had diabetes, and another 88 million had prediabetes.
Well, we can blame one guy for this. In the 1970s, a chemical company called G.D. Searle and Company, led by Donald Rumsfeld, invented an artificial sweetener named aspartame.
Aspartame? What's that?
Aspartame, also known as equal, is an artificial sweetener. They tried to get it approved in 1974, but the government held off due to safety concerns.
So this guy became a politician?
Yes, Rumsfeld campaigned for Ronald Reagan in 1980 and joined his transition team. In 1981, anti-regulations swept the government, and aspartame got the green light from the FDA.
By 1985, G.D. Searle and Company was bought by Monsanto, which mass-produced aspartame. It ended up in almost all processed foods.
The problem was it made people overweight and sick. Aspartame has been linked to headaches, seizures, and cancer.
It became the world's biggest killer, leading to the deaths of hundreds of millions over time.
So Donald Rumsfeld may have been the world's biggest killing machine.
Yes, UTU, he was. And get this, Monsanto, the company behind aspartame and GMOs, changed its name to Bayer to fool people after its reputation tanked. Bayer was once part of IG Farben, the conglomerate responsible for the deaths of tens of thousands during World War II.
IG Farben also profited from supplying Zyklon B gas for extermination and paid the Nazis a daily fee for prisoners. Today, Bayer is a pharmaceutical company that makes pills and drugs. Ninsen scanned the landfill and spotted millions of tiny orange plastic bottles.
Look at all these little bottles.
Belay and Ninsen's radar had uncovered a sea of them. Ninsen held up 3, reading the labels.
Ritalin, Adderall, and Prozac. Adderall and Ritalin are stimulants used to treat ADHD. They work by increasing dopamine and norepinephrine in the brain, helping with focus and attention.
ADHD is a developmental disorder with symptoms like inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity.
If little boys were loud or wild, they gave them these drugs. Ritalin contains methylphenidate, which helps with hyperactivity. Adderall is a mix of amphetamine and dextroamphetamine, often used for its long-lasting effects. So they were medicating children to control their behavior? Yes, and often without understanding the long-term effects or addressing the root causes.
Many times, these boys were lead-poisoned or rambunctious, so they were misdiagnosed. These drugs were often prescribed to control behavior rather than address underlying issues.
By the 2000s, Adderall became common for many, including high school and college students. Over 2.5 million Americans were prescribed Adderall in 2020 alone.
They took it to enhance focus, during exams or when they needed to stay awake. It was often used off-label for cognitive enhancement.
But how did these drugs make people sick or kill them?
Sometimes they caused suicidal thoughts. Studies show that people taking Adderall or similar medications had a higher risk of suicidal ideation if they already struggled with depression or anxiety.
It didn't stop there. Chronic use led to addiction, heart problems, mental breakdowns, and clouded thinking. In a few tragic cases, these drugs were linked to mass shootings.
For example, Adam Lanza, who was on ADHD medication, carried out the Sandy Hook shooting in 2012, killing 26. Nicholas Cruz, who was prescribed various medications, was responsible for the 2018 Parkland shooting, which resulted in 17 deaths. In 2019, Dwayne Craddock, also on medication, killed 12 in Virginia Beach.
Governments often blamed guns for these tragedies instead of looking at the drugs or the troubled kids taking them.
Some countries, like Australia and the UK, banned guns to reduce violence. But in the US, guns were everywhere. Over 393 million civilian-owned firearms by 2018.
By 2025, more than 200 million out of 320 million Americans were taking prescription drugs daily, a staggering number. And it wasn't just ADHD meds. They also had drugs for erectile dysfunction, like Viagra and Cialis. Erectile dysfunction means not being able to achieve or maintain an erection. These drugs, like sildenafil and tadalafil, were designed to boost blood flow.
Glad we Anunnaki don't have these problems?
It was due to lifestyle or health issues. Unlike us, Anunnaki don't need pills for that. Our bodies work differently.
Some side effects were worse than the original problem. It's wild.
They poisoned themselves and their environment.
The drugs didn't just harm people. They ended up in rivers, lakes, and oceans. Even filtered drinking water had traces of these chemicals.
Drugs and prescriptions entered the water when people flushed unused pills or excreted them, and wastewater treatment plants were unable to remove them. Hospitals, pharmacies, and factories also contributed to the contamination.
They had doctors for animals, veterinarians, who prescribed meds for pets.
You're joking, right?
Negative. Sick pets got treated and medicated too.
They gave pets prescriptions? That's insane.
No, that's human.
The crew chuckled, shaking their heads as they continued their investigation. As the Anunnaki dug deeper into the landfill, bubbles began to rise from the muck.
It's methane from decomposing garbage, including food waste.
He explained, waving his sensor for emphasis.
Food waste? They threw out extra food while others starved?
Methane is a powerful greenhouse gas. It traps heat, speeds up climate change, and messes with weather, crops, and survival itself.
Why didn't they use methane for energy instead of oil or nuclear?
Sometimes they did, but other methods were easier or made more money.
So they tossed food while others starved, and some lived in deserts with no food or water? If you don't want to starve, don't live in a desert.
He and UTU burst out laughing at the absurdity. However, the computer's grim statistics sobered the mood. In 2025, 25,000 people died every day from hunger, and 2.2 billion lacked access to safe drinking water. As they sifted through the trash, the crew found everything from chairs and TVs to refrigerators, stoves, plates, paint cans, and construction debris.
They prioritized consumerism over meaningful living.
Christmas trees, 4th of July flags, Thanksgiving turkeys. They celebrated everything.
Commercialism gone mad. Manufacture, buy, toss, repeat.
Commercialism started as simple trade, but grew into a system of endless consumption. It fueled the economy but wrecked the planet.
Look, I can sit on this.
Careful. That's for XXL humans. 300 pounds, not your 800.
So many chairs, living rooms, offices, porches, vibrating and heated ones. Each person had at least 5.
No wonder they were sick and overweight. Too much sitting, not enough moving.
Suddenly, the subsurface radar pinged, metals detected. Enlil and Nergal exchanged excited glances as Astra explained.
Silver and gold first appeared in circuit boards in the 1970s and 1980s, making electronics faster and more reliable. Gold is used as a thin plating on connectors to prevent rust, while silver is prized for its conductivity in high-frequency parts.
These metals are added during the final stages of circuit board production, giving gadgets the durability to withstand years of use.
Reading his wristband looks like gold in circuit boards are everywhere. Buildings, computers in the dumps. Approximately 657,000 pounds of gold are used in circuit boards each year. Since the 1970s, that's over 30 million pounds worldwide. Electronics recycling is a gold mine. This will help our future projects. We'll need to do some extraction.
Then he switched his comm back on.
Garbage dumps created big health risks. By 2025, people living within 5 miles of major landfills had a 20% higher cancer rate.
Toxins leaked into water supplies, affecting whole communities.
Enlil's voice crackled over the comms. Enlilzu and Utu, get ready, we're approaching the cemetery drop-off.
UTU replied, already done, waiting for the next adventure.
The ship descended, dropping them among gravestones overgrown with weeds and debris.
UTU adjusted his gear and quipped, from garbage to graves, what a cheery mission.